All right, so this is still tentative. This is March 14th at 4 p.m. European time, so things can always change, but it seems as if the Christian Horner saga is finally over, and it seems that the man, the myth, the legend, Christian Horner has come out on top. So I'm gonna walk you through what I've seen as the story and how Christian Horner has just played this beautifully, like the chess master that he is. You can't catch this guy. You can't punish this guy for things that he does. He left his wife for Jerry Horner. Nothing happened. He went over the spending limit. Nothing happened. Now he did this. Nothing happened. He is Teflon Christian. So where does this all start? This starts with the death of Dietrich Mateschitz back in 2022. He was basically the guy who started Red Bull Racing, and he was the head of Red Bull Racing. And what happened was when once he was gone, there was a power struggle within the organization, as there is. When a leader dies, like who's going to take over, but like who's going to be like de facto take over. Now, one thing that happened is that apparently Christian Horner tried to buy Red Bull Racing. He lined up this investment and he tried to push the Austrians out of Red Bull Racing. Now, there are two reasons for this. The first one is that, he built this team. It really was his project. He brought in Newey, he brought in Max, he brought in Vettel. This was all his blood, sweat, and tears, right? And he just wants to own it. The second, I think this also comes down to Toto Wolff, because Toto Wolff made $1.6 billion from being the head of Mercedes, because he owns a piece of the team. Christian Horner, on the other hand, is worth $50 million. Now, $50 million is still a lot, something to sneeze at, but when your main rival is worth $2 billion, it gets under your skin. And I think that he wanted to own part of the team so that he could become a billionaire too, because he built a team that's just as, if not more dominant than Mercedes has been over the past, 15 years, right? Now, the problem is that I think that there's always been tension between Christian and Marco, right? Because like those two have been running the team, and obviously there's gonna be tension between the two. And Marco basically saw this power play from Christian as a way to take him out of the team, right? Because Helmut Marko is an Austrian. He's backed by the Austrians. Christian Horner is British. He's going to bring British money in. Once the British money comes in, it may not be immediately, but there's a fairly good chance that Helmut Marko is going to get pushed out. Now we get to the allegations, right, about the texting. We still don't know exactly what happens, but it turned out recently that Jos Verstappen maintains a romantic relationship with a former secretary who is reportedly Christian's former lover, to whom Horner allegedly sent inappropriate messages. I can't get my Instagram on my computer for some reason, so I just texted myself a screenshot, right? So basically, this came from the Verstappens, right? And you saw this with Max, where he basically said, "Hey, I back Helmut." There was this whole thing about Helmut not being able to talk to the press. Max Verstappen basically said, "Hey, I'm gonna walk if you get rid of Helmut Marko." He distanced himself from Christian Horner. He basically said like, "Hey, I back my dad. I back Helmut." They were like, "Hey, so do you back Christian?" Whatever, right? So what happened? First of all, they suspended the accuser. By the way, she's suspended with pay, so it's not like necessarily a punitive thing. Like, I understand like how it looks bad, but he cleaned house. He got the money backing him to do that, right? And then, he's able to say, "Hey, it's time to move on." Now, the final piece that the Verstappens had to get Christian Horner out of there, right? Because of this scandal, and basically Red Bull ownership said, "Hey, look, this guy built the team. We're not going to get rid of him over some text messages unless we absolutely have to," right? So Max Verstappen started floating it out there in the past week or so that Christian Horner that he was going to leave Red Bull if Christian Horner stays, right? And Toto Wolff said, "Hey, we'd love to have you know Max Verstappen, right? So what did Christian Horner do? Christian Horner did the most boss move where he said, you can't force someone to be somewhere just because of a piece of paper. If someone didn't want to be on this team, then we're not going to force someone against their will, right? He basically said, okay, Max, okay, you have the fastest car on the grid by 30 seconds to a minute. Are you really going to join Mercedes? Are you really going to do it? All right, F it, join Mercedes. I'm going to win with Checo Perez. I'm going to win with Alexander Albon. Hell, I can win with Lance Stroll as my number one driver. And what happened? Turns out Max Verstappen doesn't really want to leave Red Bull, and he decided that he was going to stay. And I think that this is like a really, to sort of tell the lesson of this. I think that what happens a lot of times, you have people, like Max, like Joss, who are really good at like race car driving, and they think that because of that, they're like, these big men who can like negotiate. But Christian Horner is an actual businessman. Christian Horner actually built this team. Christian Horner is an actual executive, right? Max Verstappen, all he knows how to do is just like, time perfectly braking and gas on 21 different circuits around the world, right? Like yeah, it's a great skill. Like, he makes a lot of money, but that doesn't make you a businessman, right? Christian Horner is a businessman. He built this whole organization. And when Joss and Max tried to go toe to toe with him, he said, "Great, walk away, have fun." Oh, you have these allegations? I don't care. It's not gonna bother me. It's not gonna faze me. Leak all the text messages you want. I don't care. Well, you think Jerry Horner, the woman who made me leave my pregnant wife, is gonna care about me sleeping around on her? She doesn't care. She doesn't care. None of this matters. And that's why Christian Horner is the boss man. That's why Christian Horner is the GOAT. And that's why Christian Horner won. And I think what's going to happen is that once all this dies down, I think in the next year or two, like Max, I think he's going to be severely neutered. I think that Christian Horner is probably going to bring in someone like Lando or some other major young talent who's going to start actually taking it to Max a little bit. And then Christian Horner's going to say, look, the big card you played against me to not be able to sell the team was that Max was going to leave. That's not the case anymore. We don't really care if Max is going to leave. Look at Lando. Lando's 10 seconds behind Max. If Max goes to a Mercedes, there's no way Max is beating Lando. Like, Max and Mercedes beating Lando in Red Bull. It's not happening. I think in the next 2 or 3 years, he's going to get the team. He's going to get everything. He's going to win because he's a winner. That's what Christian Horner does. He just wins. And Max Verstappen, yeah, drive your little car, drive your little race car around the track. Don't try to do a business. Anyway, that's my F1 video for the day. Like, subscribe, and comment, and follow me on Twitter. PLLSKI.